Hi, this is Meal Prep with Abby. If you are someone struggling to cook for that one person, maybe you're a mom, dad, a busy professional, or even a student trying to eat a plant-based diet, welcome to my channel. I understand how cooking for, especially meal prepping for that one person, is a struggle. In this channel, I share what I do on Sundays to meal prep for my whole week. The hope is you guys could take some inspiration out of this, see what I do, and also maybe learn a thing or two about some South Indian dishes. I try to make my life easy, I try to simplify everything, and hopefully you guys could use some of these tips and tricks and techniques to make your meal prep easier. So I'm going to post a picture on what I made this week. This was an interesting week. I did make a lot of South Indian inspired dishes. I just felt like eating some of these South Indian stir-fry vegetables. I'll talk a little bit about how I did that, how to simplify them, and hopefully you guys could try making some of the South Indian stir-fry. They do call for some special ingredients that you might have to buy though. So first let's talk about the easy curry that I make. Curries are something I make every week. I'll make sometimes a coconut-based curry, which is what I made this time. Sometimes I'll make a tomato-based curry. Sometimes I'll make like a North Indian curry with garam masala, maybe heavy cream and stuff. Curries are so easy when it comes to incorporating vegetables in them. And when I make my curries, it's usually like a kitchen sink kind of recipe. Like I'll just go through my refrigerator, see what is left over, like what kind of vegetables are one-off, what I haven't used yet. Most times I'm pretty good at like meal prepping and not wasting like vegetables and stuff. So most times I won't have those one-off vegetables. So I go to my frozen section. I always have frozen vegetables. And curries are great. You could use the Costco Normandin mix, a stir-fry mix. I also get like some mixed vegetables at the Indian store. They'll have like sambar mix, avial mix. If you ever hit up an Asian store or an Indian store, check out their frozen sections. They have a lot more selections. You'll end up eating different kinds of vegetables. They'll sometimes have like this yuca and some like other kinds of like root vegetables in their vegetable mix, which comes in handy when you're trying to increase the variety of vegetables you're trying to eat. So I always have a frozen vegetable. So today I used the avial mix. My avial mix was getting pretty old. So I was going through the freezer and I was going through everything, checking to see what I needed to use up, and that avial mix had to be used up. So I ended up using that vegetable. So it's pretty simple. You heat up some oil, throw some curry powder in there. I have my pre-based onion cubes and I throw those onion cubes, defrosted onion cubes in there, and then I throw the frozen vegetables. Once it all gets incorporated, you just put the lid on, pour some water, put the lid on, bring it to a simmer and make sure everything cooks through. Once that's done, I just add some, I also freeze my coconut milk or coconut. If I grind, I'll grind a whole pack of like frozen coconut and I'll freeze them in cubes, and that's what you see there. I also added some chickpea. I do make my beans and chickpea, like beans and lentils in a batch. I cook in an Instapot and I freeze them at a single serving, right? We all know how when you open that can of bean, you're stuck with it. You're eating the whole can of bean and it's a terrible thing to do. I will probably put a link in the end, at the end, on how to make beans in the Instapot and how to freeze them in a single serving portion, so you could just pull them out and do like, quickly add it to your meals. So I did defrost like a single serving of my chickpea that I had frozen, and I added that to there, and that's it. That curry is done. That's more of like a vegetable than curry, and I'll take those vegetables and when I eat my rice, when I take my rice to work, I'll take those vegetables and use it as a side with my rice a lot. And then when I come home, I'll have roti and stuff, and I'll just have those sauce with the roti, so that whole vegetable will get eaten between me and me and my daughter. So I did that, and so the chicken curry is done. So let's talk about the Indian style stir fry. So I have a couple things I bought out for you guys, because if you decide to make the South Indian stir fry, you do need some extra ingredients. So a traditional South Indian stir fry, in a traditional South Indian stir fry, they do something called tempering. So the whole concept is, when you do stir fries, you do use a lot of oil, you get like the pan hot, and you're like stir frying vegetables. But the South Indian vegetables are a little different. They actually get incorporated into the oil a little bit, to incorporate some flavor pattern and like flavor into those vegetables, and then you just close them and you kind of steam them in their own water. That's why I love making South Indian vegetables, because it's so much more healthier and so much it's more steamed than like fried, right? So I did my cabbage, so I'll post a video on how I did that. So first, let's talk about tempering. Tempering is what you use before you start any South Indian vegetable. You'll put a spoon of oil, you'll add something called mustard seed, and there's two different kind of dals called urad dal and like chana dal, and they'll put all those three together, and they kind of roast it, bring it to a certain consistency, and then they'll add the vegetable. I don't do that because it's hard. I've noticed that my daughter does not like urad dal and chana dal. The texture of that she does not like the soft vegetables with that crunchy dal in the middle. That texture is not something she cares for. So plus it's a lot of work. It's a lot more work to like roast that dal to like the perfect consistency. Sometimes, I mean, you should look up videos on YouTube on tempering just for kicks. Most of the time when I put those lentils and dals and stuff in like the oil to fry up, I'll sometimes fry them up too much and they're all like burnt and black. Sometimes I don't fry them enough and they're all like raw and like don't taste great. So I don't even bother doing it anymore. So this is how I do my tempering. Please, this is not the traditional South Indian tempering. If you guys are really interested in making traditional South Indian vegetables, do let me know. Put a comment in the comment below. I could probably make a recipe, like show you guys how to make the South Indian recipes, but it is a little bit of a laborious thing. You have to be ready. The oil is hot, so it gets a little complicated. But either way, let's first talk about what you need to make the South Indian vegetables. So you need something called mustard seed, which is right here. It's just like the traditional mustard seed. They're like small black seeds, and they're really like really small like black seeds, right? So these are mustard seeds. Just like that's what the mustard powder comes out of, I'm assuming. And then I use cumin, which you probably are more used to. Cumin is pretty common in American cooking too. So I use cumin. And then there's another thing I use called asafoetida. Asafoetida is like a resin that comes from this plant. So in South India, they'll take this resin and they kind of extract this resin and process it into like this powdery texture. So that is very native to South Indian cooking, and that's something that you need to probably find, you know. I get my asafoetida, I get some organic asafoetida. If you look at it, it has like small like cubes in there. It has like, it's like a powder. It's like a small, it has a grainy, it's like a sand, you know, it has a texture of sand almost. And when you put it in oil, it'll just kind of fry up, and it's pretty cool. So when it comes to asafoetida, you could extract these resins in either wheat or rice. Like a traditional South Indian asafoetida obviously is extracted in rice, right? We eat a lot of rice dishes. But lately, I've noticed that you have to look for gluten-free asafoetida if you are sensitive to gluten, because some of these asafoetidas get extracted in like wheat, just because it's cheaper to do it and like a lot more. Now wheat has come into a lot of like South Indian cooking too. So you definitely do need asafoetida, mustard seeds, and the cumin seeds. Those are three things I like to have when I do my tempering. So the asafoetida has a very particular flavor palette. It is very good to use asafoetida when you cook lentils, beans, cabbage, even when you do like potatoes, anything that could create gas, right? It's like a Beano. It is like a natural Beano, right? If you feel like something is gonna make you gassy, think of anything, any vegetable or like root that's gonna make you gassy, go for the asafoetida, and that's how South Indians use it. So we use asafoetida a lot in our cooking. It does tend to negate like the gassiness that comes from beans and stuff. So that's what we do. So you just put like a teaspoon of oil. You could do less or more. I ended up using coconut oil because for some reason that coconut oil is so good. Like fresh coconut oil is so good when it comes to cabbage, right? Especially when you eat it fresh, it's like, it's very different. It's so light and fresh. So you use like I put some coconut oil in the pan, and then you wait for the oil to like come to a certain temperature. Usually I'll just put my hand right above the pan and you could feel like the heat, right? You could feel like the heat rising. So once the oil comes to like the right temperature, you throw these mustard seeds in there. Guys, it's gonna splatter. It's gonna start like popping. It's gonna splatter everywhere. You see me using a splash guard there. Like you put a splash guard. You could take like your oven pot, like the lid of your thing, and I wouldn't close it because that'll steam and like water might get into the oil and it'll start splattering more. So don't close it tight. Just like hold it over without closing them so air could escape. So the splattering comes down. You know, you could just put it on top. It is what it is. Like that's the risk of South Indian cooking. There's going to be like mustard seeds everywhere, and that's how we cook, and that's what we do, right? But it's worth every splatter. I'll post a picture of the aftermath of like what was on the counter, right? I didn't put my splash guard in like quick enough. So that's another thing. Whenever you're making a South Indian stir fry, just make sure you have all your ingredients and vegetables ready to go, because you don't want to put the mustard green on there and then look for something else. And that's what happened to me, and it started splattering everywhere. So I put like this mustard green in there first. If the oil is like the perfect temperature, it'll start splattering, right? If your oil is not hot enough and it did start splattering, that's fine. If it didn't start like popping, that's fine. It is in a way like mustard is like mustard will tell you when the oil is at the right temperature. Once it starts popping, you just put a lid on top or a splash guard and wait for that to like calm down. Once it calms down, I put like a little bit of cumin in there, and that's there. So I just put a cumin in there. As soon as you put the cumin in there, it'll start sizzling. And it's like, it smells great, and like the whole kitchen will smell like cumin, and it's so good. And then once everything, like the cumin is done, like as you put the cumin in and as it's sizzling, just put just a pinch of this. So asafoetida, I'll actually put like maybe a picture of a regular asafoetida. It comes in a white bottle and it's a powder. This is like organic, like processed asafoetida that I get because I do use a lot of this. You might not need to get something so I mean, I bet you could get this at Amazon too, like an organic one. But I could put a picture of how it looks at the Indian store. It comes in like a plastic can, like plastic thing, and it's completely powdered. The asafoetida I have has a sandy consistency, but that one is completely powdered, so it's easy to put a pinch. But I put like a pinch, really a pinch. It has a very pungent, it is very pungent, and it does have like a very bitter like taste. If you overdo on the asafoetida, you will feel it in your vegetables, and you want to use this very minimally, right? If you are not sure, I would caution using less, not more, right? Always like use less, and then maybe use a little bit more next time. See if you could tolerate like that smell of it. If you just put in a pinch, it's nothing. It'll be fine. So I put in the asafoetida, and they'll all come together. At that point, you could put in like some whole dried chili if you want to, like a dried red chili. I do not. So South Indians don't always make food spicy. we make our vegetables steamed with salt, and we don't steam them. We don't add heat to it all the time. So I did not add any heat to my cabbage, right? So I just put the cabbage in there at that point, and I kind of cover them up. And you could see how there's just a little bit of oil there, to cut, like just a little bit of oil in the middle, and like you could put a whole bunch of cabbage. You could also use less. You could use as less oil as you want. The oil is only to, like, if you just put a teaspoon of oil, put the mustard seeds and the cumin right on that teaspoon of oil, so they all get like nice and crispy and like the flavors come out. And then you put the cabbage, and then you kind of like wilt them a little bit, and then you could just put like just a little bit of water, right? Sometimes if your cabbage is fresh and you wilt them and you see that the bottom's not sticky and stuff, you don't even need any water. You could just like close them up, and then the cabbage has its own water. And if you close them tight and put it in like low heat, like medium to low heat, it'll start cooking in its own like juices. And that makes that cabbage so much more flavorful, right? And that's what I did. Once that cabbage is done, you take it out, you put salt. I added salt right before I closed it, because salt tend to sweat the vegetables, and it's nice to put some salt in there, and instead of water, you just add salt, and the salt will bring out all of the water from the vegetable itself. That'll help cook that cabbage. So that's what I did. So you could do cabbage this way. You could do string beans this way. You could also cut beets and stuff into like small little cubes, and you could cook beets this way. I do cook a lot of vegetables that particular style. So I did that. And I also made like lentils, like moong dal, like sprouted lentils today, and I used the same splattering method there too. So we'll talk more about it. Actually, why don't we talk about it now? So it's the same tempering process. So you put a little bit of oil in this time. So I, first of all, sprouted moong dal, right? Sprouting moong dal is easy, because sometimes when you are eating lentils, you have to like cook the lentils and then make something with the lentils, and it becomes like a couple of different processes, and it has more layers to it. Maybe sometimes I don't have time to go through all those layers. When it comes to, when I don't have time, I do moong dal and stuff like that. So that is moong dal, that's dry. And then you just wash it well, and you pour a lot of water to it. You cannot like over add water, just add more water to it, soak it overnight. I would say 6 to 8 hours minimum, right? So you soak it overnight. The next day I take it out and I put it through like a regular pasta strainer, so all the water is completely straight. Once that's done, I just put them in that, put it in a container, like a non-glass container, so light can get through. I put them in a container, and I'll put like maybe a paper towel or like a cloth, like a cotton cloth or something like that over it. I do have like reusable like cotton napkins, like, you know, that I use. So I just put them in there, and I'll put like a lid on top. The secret is to have them be in the dark. They want to be in a cool, dark place, because you want them to sprout. You want to, they need to think that they are in the soil somewhere, and they need to like come out looking for the sunlight, right? That's a whole process. So I close them in there, and I leave them for at least 24 to 48 hours. Sometimes, depending on the summers, the moong will like, dal will sprout quicker. During the winters, they tend to like linger around and like take their sweet time. We all have like, we all have climate control in our, houses and stuff. So you don't have to worry about mold and stuff like that nowadays. Back home in India, like, you have to like be careful that they don't spoil before they sprout, because the heat and everything, it's just all too much, and you have to like really put them in like a, my mom used to like put them, tie them in like a cotton cloth, and you have to, it's just a lot of process. You have to say kumbaya, I'm just kidding, but it is a process. Like, it could spoil before it sprouts, right? They might die before they sprout. But in here, I've never had any issues sprouting lentils. It's been the easiest thing ever, right? You just put it in like a container that's like, not glass, so it's like nice and dark, and you put it in like a cool place. Give it 24 to 48 hours, they'll sprout. See how they sprouted? They sprouted pretty well. So once they sprout, it increases the nutritional value of the lentil. It also decreases the amount of like digestive issues you will have in a lentil, because once the lentil sprouts, you deactivate all of that toxic like mechanisms they have to protect themselves from being eaten, right? So it's always good. So when you eat these lentils, you tend to be less gassy. You tend to digest them better. So it's nice to make like sprouted lentils. But it is a process. It does take a couple days. So you just have to get them ready, you know. So I have those lentils already done and ready. So it's the same process. You put a little bit of oil, and you put, once the oil comes to like a nice heat, you put the mustard seeds in there, and then the seed will start splattering, and then you put the cumin, and you definitely do asafoetida here because it's a lentil. You don't want any gas. We are not going to add any garlic and stuff in it, so we are just going to add the asafoetida. And then I put like I put the lentils in there. I also actually did some whole chili at this point because I wanted to introduce some heat, but not like too much. So the chili really gives you that mild heat, but you want to put the chili in the oil so it kind of fries up in the oil. These are all good ways to bring the flavors out without bringing too much heat or too much of like the pungency out, right? So you put the chili in there, and then I put like the lentils, and I kind of coat them, put the curry powder in it. I did put some water in there. When I say some water, I usually will take the lid I'm using and I'll put water in the lid, and whatever the lid could hold, that's a lot. You know what I mean? I just do very little bit of water because the lid usually can't hold so much water. That's like my pots and pans. That's how it works for me. I'll put like water in the lid, and that's like a little bit. So I'll put some water, and I closed it. Salt, and I'm done, right? There's no heat. I didn't add any heat to it because I already added the chili in the oil. So that came together, and you just cover it up and like give it a couple swirls. And again, you're gonna medium low, you let them cook in their own water, and it comes out amazing. So that's the end process, my lentils. So it's all done. So that worked out. And I did make some vegetables. I made some fennel. I had some fennel and zucchini already marinated in the freezer. So I just took them out. I just threw them in my air fryer, roasted them up. So that's like a little bit of vegetables that you see on the side. That's like roasted fennel and zucchini there. And I also made South Indian potatoes and eggs. I know, I felt I was in a mood to make South Indian food. And if I was going to do one thing, I was going to do all of them South Indian, right? So the potatoes you see there, they're just like a half of the serving. They're so good when they come out nice and hot. So me and my daughter kind of maybe ate a little bit of it already by the time it came for pictures. So I roast my potatoes in a cast iron skillet, and that's what I usually do. So you put a little bit of oil in the cast iron. Again, the South Indian way of making veg like broods are a little different. So you smash a garlic, you just put a knife, you just smash like one small garlic with like cover on and everything. So you have that ready. And then you heat up the oil. Once the oil comes to like, once the oil starts heating up, I added fennel this time. So it is just like, you could also add cumin, but fennel is like something they add to, it's a different flavor palette, right? Because I already added cumin on all of my tempered vegetable, and I didn't want to add cumin again. The fennel, so you add some fennel, and you add that garlic, like just that one like smashed garlic in there. I recommend that you guys try this. It's such a different flavor palette, and it's very different, and it's so good. I love it. And fennel has so many health properties to it. So it's important to incorporate them into your diet. And this is one great, easy way to incorporate them into your diet. So you cut like your potatoes, skin on. I do use organic potatoes, so I just leave the skin on. I don't take the skin out. So I did like cut up some organic potatoes, skin on. So I heat up the oil. I put some fennel, I put the garlic. Again, I do the asafoetida because potatoes could make you gassy, so a little bit of asafoetida does not, you can't go wrong with it. So I do the asafoetida, and then I put the potatoes in there, and then I kind of like coat them, and then I put salt to sweat out the potatoes, and then I cover it up, and I put it on like medium. I put it on medium. I don't really do low. I do almost like medium, because you don't want, you will be cooking those potatoes forever if you want to make them, if you made them like low heat, right? The point is to make sure those potatoes get roasted on all sides. So I try to speed up that process. So and then you open it up, you rotate, like you just keep like rotating them, like moving them, like, you know, changing the sides and stuff, and eventually the potato will get done. Once the potato comes to a consistency that you are happy with in terms of how roast they are, once that happens and you're happy with how roast they are, you then add like the chili powder. Because if you add chili powder earlier, just like how oil tends to bring out the flavors of all of the stuff that you add in them, it will bring out the flavor of the chili powder. And God, you guys will all be sneezing and coughing, and the whole house will be like on a sneezy fit, like frenzy, you know? So add that chili powder all the way at the end. Once the vegetable cooks, that's when you add the chili powder, and like just a little bit of chili powder, and like to your taste. You could also do pepper if it's too much to add chili powder. And you just kind of coat them one last time, and then you put them aside. So I did have a lot more like things sticking in the bottom, and I just felt inspired to do like Indian like eggs. Because I had boiled some eggs, so I felt inspired to do it. So I just put oil in the same pan. I put some onions, the same process, right? You put some onions, some like salt, some heat, and then I did do some tomato paste in there. I do have that, like I do get tomato paste in like that tube, like a toothpaste tube kind of tube, because they're so easy. You don't have to open, if you open a can of tomatoes, like you don't get to all of those. I'm not sure if you guys do, that's great. Then you guys should just use a can of tomatoes. I don't. I'll only need like a little bit just to bring that acidity, right? Just to take the bits from the bottom out. And that was the whole point, to just take the bits out from the bottom. So I did some tomatoes, a little bit of water. And once that all comes, I put like the eggs in there. And I did use like the red, purple onions, so that's why the whole thing looks like dark and like black and stuff. If you used white onions, the regular white onions, Vidalia onions, they'll look more like yellowish, you know. But that is more with the cast iron, and with the tomatoes and with the purple onions, they all became so black, but they taste amazing. They taste just like Vidalia onions. So I did, and then I roast the eggs in them, and I cut them open, and that's what I do, because I want the eggs to soak in all of the heat and the salt and all of the flavors from that tomato, right? So when the cast iron is out, they all get done, so I have my eggs ready. I know I have more eggs there than what's in the final dish, because again, they were so good. We got to it before it went to pictures, right? We ate already. Sometimes my daughter will come when I'm cooking, and she'll just eat as she goes, which I'm happy to see her eat it. I'm happy she likes it. I have no problems with it. But again, you guys have less eggs there, and that's what happens, you know, when you cook on Sundays. I also made some rice. That's what's in that yellow rice on the side. So I make my own seasoned spice. I call it my seasoned salt. That salt already has some garlic, onion powder, you know, paprika, chili powder and stuff. I make my own mix. If you guys are interested, post a comment below. I'd be happy to share the recipe. Everybody should have their own seasoned salts to make your life easy. You should find your flavors that you like and mix it with the salt and have it handy. And you could use it everywhere you want, anytime you want. It's quick and easy, and I do that a lot. So I put some rice with some lentils. I do a cup of rice, 1/4 cup of lentil. I kind of like throw them in the rice cooker with my seasoned salt, and that's pretty much that, right? Once that came out, I still had some peppery arugula from my, arugula is a hardy herb. I got them last week for my cooking. for my meal prep, and I took a little bit out to use it like a herb, and I still had them. They were still good. So I ended up using them this week. I just like put them on top just to kind of like a herb, just to kind of bring them all together. So I had my yellow rice there, and that's all done and ready to go. So I'm pretty much done for the week for my meal prep. I did season some frozen cod, and I seasoned some frozen shrimp. That's what you see on those 2 packets there. I tend to season my fish and my shrimp frozen, and that's what I do nowadays. I don't defrost them. Like when you defrost them, all the water comes out. It just gets messy, and when you cook, they become more rubbery, and I don't care for it. Lately, I have been seasoning my shrimp and my fish just out of the frozen state, and that's what I do. That's the same seasoned salt I use for the rice. That's the same seasoned salt I use for my shrimp and my cod. So the cod will go in. It'll be like a serving of fish. Maybe I'll make some rice or something to go with it on that day. Or I'll just eat it like usually with like vegetables and stuff. I could eat it with that cabbage and some frozen vegetable. Or the shrimp gets, I have plans for taco night for the shrimp. So I'm probably gonna make some shrimp taco. Maybe I'll put some pictures if I have some, if I get to it before I post this video. I will put some pictures up. So I do my, that shrimp is for shrimp tacos. So I will just throw the frozen cod or shrimp in the air fryer. I usually do 400-degree Fahrenheit. The shrimp will cook in like 12 to 15 minutes. The fish will cook in like 15 to 20 minutes. I know you guys, it's so easy to make seafood in the air fryer, and has been a lifesaver. And I also have 2 eggs there that I might add to a salad or something over the course of the week. So that's my meal prep for the week. I also ended up making the Panera style broccoli cheddar soup. This is the first time I'm making them because my daughter loves it. I mean, I like it too. It is a great keto food, but if you're eating it with like bread and stuff like that, it is like really high in fat, you know. It's like butter with heavy cream with like cheddar cheese, and then there's some broccoli and carrots in it, and that's what that recipe pretty much is. So if I just did it the first time I did it, I didn't like make a video of how I did it, but it came out pretty good, you know. So maybe next time I make it, I'll make a video of it for you guys. So I do have that ready. I'm gonna freeze those 2 small containers, and I'm gonna eat that 1 big container. So I have broccoli cheddar soup to go. So I'm good. I'm done for the week. There's just 1 more like taco to do, and then maybe I'll make like another 1-pot rice, maybe on a Wednesday or Thursday for the next couple of days, and I'll be done for my week. Hopefully this is inspiring you guys to make some South Indian vegetable. South Indian vegetables are such good flavors. It's very different. It's almost steamed. So it's like it cooks in its own like water, so it brings out a lot more flavors in them. If you guys try to make a South Indian vegetable, and if you're having any kind of issues with it, please do try it, post it in the comment. I'd be happy to make a video of just how to temper, how to make vegetables. Maybe I'll make a couple different vegetables so you guys could have a better idea. You know, I would love for you guys to try that South Indian vegetable, and like hopefully it works out for you guys in your meal prep. Thank you for listening to my meal prep journey today. I'll post more videos in the future. Bye.